Waiver gems and trade block plays. Win today and plan for days. Waiver gems and trade block plays. Win today and plan for days. Waiver gems and trade block plays. Win today and plan for days.
Win your league, stack that bread, or start a boom and lose instead. Sunday Surefire, let's go.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sunday Surefire podcast. I'm your host, the Commish. Joining me tonight is the co-host, Aaron Downtown Brown.
Hey.
And my other co-host, my guy, Ethan Weaver.
Commish, how we doing?
Doing good, boys. Doing good. We are rounding into another episode here of rookie content. The 2026 draft inching closer by the day, where it's almost combine season. That's going to be up here in about a week or so, a little bit less by the time you're listening to this. And from there, it's a nice smooth ride into free agency, into the NFL draft. Then it'll be summertime before you know it. So we're gonna keep up on this. We're gonna be hitting on 7 receivers from this class. We'll cover more sleepers and such down the road, but we're kind of just covering the main attractions in the 2026 draft class at the wide receiver position. And we'll just dive right into it here, guys. We're going to start with Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. Ethan, what do you get to say about Tyson?
Jordan Tyson, one of the best receiving prospects in this class. He's going to be a projected top 15 pick this year come April. Wide receiver, Arizona State, 6'2", 200 pounds, so decent build. Had a fairly productive career at Arizona State. This past year, he had 61 receptions, 711 yards, 8 touchdowns. In 2024, he had 75 receptions for 1,101 yards and 10 touchdowns. So a nose for the end zone. I mean, this is a guy that can play anywhere on the field, but he did play a lot of slot snaps. 42.6% of his snaps were from the slot, but he's just an excellent route runner, great separator, 3.09 yards per route run, which ranked 16th amongst 946 plus receivers in college football. 66.7% contested catch rate. So this guy can get open. He can make contested catches. And he was a staple of the Arizona State offense. He was, their go-to guy, great body control in the air. And he was coached by Hines Ward at Arizona State. So he's a willing blocker, has that, as Hines Ward was a very obviously tough receiver. Love to get his nose dirty in the NFL. But I think Jordan Tyson's biggest weakness is his lack of health. Unfortunately, he was injured every single year from 2022 to 2025. His knee in 2022 was his worst, where he basically tore every CL in his knee, MCL, PCL, and ACL. Very, very tough injury for him. But obviously, he's bounced back very well since then. Collarbone in 2024 and then hamstring issues in 2025. So obviously, that's going to be a pretty big deterrent for some NFL teams. Obviously, his medicals in the pre-draft process are going to be big for him. But obviously, he stays healthy. He's going to be a top 15 pick. He's going to be a wide receiver 1, at least given the shot to be a wide receiver 1 for an NFL team in the near future. But Jordan Tyson, he's deserving of the tops, definitely top tier of receivers in this 2026 draft class.
I'm trying to picture a receiver coached by Hines Ward who doesn't want to be a willing blocker out there, and some of the
Exactly.
things that Hines Ward would have said to you if when you show up on campus with that attitude. But Tyson is, in a lot of experts' opinions, the top receiver prospect in this class, and I think that's a fair assessment. He's a lot of things that you look at in his game that should translate to the NFL level. But Aaron, I'll let you kind of throw your 2 cents in there before we move on to our next guy.
Yeah, no, I think you guys touched on all the points. I think, his injury history, it's always interesting to see if your draft stock slips a little bit, if any of the other guys skip him in the draft, which actually could be a huge benefit. If he drops a little bit later to a playoff team or something like that, or a mid to late round first or something like that, that could be great for him and his trajectory, landing with a a great QB or just a great offense. So, his injury history is scary, but like I said, if someone, it's always interesting if a team like takes a shot on a player and like it might end up being a playoff contending team. So I definitely like that.
All right. Well, speaking of teams that are always in the playoffs at the college level, let's talk about the Ohio State receiver here. We don't quite get our hands on Jeremiah Smith just yet in Dynasty. We need to wait another season for that. But for now, we do have Carnell Tate to talk about, Aaron. So why don't you go ahead and break him down for us?
Sure, yeah. Carnell Tate, big body wide receiver. Coming in to just my draft prep, he was my favorite wide receiver of the class. It seemed to me every time I wanted to check on Jeremiah Smith stats, like, oh, okay, how'd Ohio State do this past week? And it was Carnell Tate that was having the big games, right? I mean, you see from his explosive plays, a 17.2 yards per catch. Like I said, he's a huge body, standing at 6'3". Really uses his his body well on the outside. Excellent contested catch ability. Thrives in the red zone as well. He's also fearless too. I mean, there's just so many plays where he just puts his body on the line and comes up with the big play, whether it's in the end zone, just diving first down or something like that. So I like Carnell Tate. I mean, Ohio State knows how to groom wide receivers as well. So he's elite in my opinion out of this draft class. I know everyone has their eyes on Jeremiah Smith as well, but it's tough for the NFL to look away from talented 6'3" wide receivers, which I think a lot of these wide receivers have that big frame, but he really has the big playability. So I think every single team in the NFL needs that. So yeah, I'm a big Carnell Tate fan.
Ethan, is this the next good NFL wide receiver that comes out of the Ohio State assembly line?
Most likely, if you have an OSU helmet, you're probably pretty good. So, a guy like Carnell Tate is he's so good when the ball is in the air. He's so good at the catch point. Just very, very good against zone. The guy just knows how to make plays. I mean, to Aaron's point, in his big playability, he had 5 touchdowns over 40 yards in 2025. He's a projected top 10 pick in this year's NFL draft. And also, it's Carnell Tate. I feel like he's been overshadowed just because of all the talent that we've mentioned at Ohio State. Obviously, with Marvin Harrison Jr., Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith. So Carnell Tate is kind of flying under the radar. And I think we're going to find out how good Tate is. I'm excited to see him in the combine, see what his athleticism is. But he's a guy 6'3", a little slender. It would be nice to see him get that weight of 195 up a little bit with that 6'3" frame. But I think this is going to be a guy that's going to be a wide receiver 1 for an NFL team for a long time. I'm excited. I'm excited for Carnell Tate.
Yeah, I mean, Tate has the makings of a good NFL wide receiver, a good perimeter boundary guy who could do a little bit of everything. I think he's going to be a really good pro as well. That's why he's in here with this top group of wide receivers. Also graded out really well, number 7 overall per PFF a season ago, which is awesome. Now we're going to go to kind of the last of the big 3, at least at the moment, at the top of the boards. These are the guys that are likely to go the first 3 receivers off the board in the NFL draft in all likelihood, and probably will make them the first 3 receivers that come off your dynasty draft boards as well. So I'm going to wrap it up here with Mekhi Lemon out of USC, 5'11", 195 pounds. Had a great final season with USC. Also graded out really well as well. PFF's number 2 rated wide receiver in 2025. Had 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns last season. Did a lot of his damage in the slot, played 66% of his snaps there last season, but also did play a healthy 222 snaps out wide as well. So he does have the ability to do both and likely will at the next level as well. A good release off the line off press coverage, and he gets out of his breaks really well. Really good at adjusting his body, which is just really obvious if you watch him play. Really enjoyed watching his film. He looks really good. He looks like an NFL wide receiver, a guy who can be a difference maker at the next level. Going to be a first round pick in the NFL draft. Very high on this guy in his future, and I see why he's in this top group.
Yeah, I love watching his highlights as well. There, Kamish. I think just a few notes I placed on Lemon. I mean, he catches with high speed. I mean, when you watch a lot of his highlights, he's running full speed into the catch, and that's huge in the NFL. You know, getting your route, hitting your spots, getting to where you need to be, and he just plays at a high level. I love his energy, how fast he plays. It's a tough thing to describe sometimes, but until you just see it. So not so much just his speed, but just how he's running his routes, how fast he's running into him. I didn't do many comps or any. This is the only comp I wrote. I just wrote down he reminds me of Amon Ross St. Brown. I mean, just for how hard he plays, he gets those extra. He just makes plays. He even though we have him ranked right now 3. My personal opinion, he's my favorite coming out of this class.
If he ends up being another Amon-Ra St. Brown, we might have to have a conversation with Ohio State about who WRU is, because the St. Brown comp's an easy one. He stylistically plays that way, and he also wears the same helmet in college that St. Brown used to as well. So, but Ethan, give us the last word on Lemon before you dive into the next guy.
I think Lemon may be one of the safer, like PPR floor receivers in the 2026 draft class. I feel like if you want somebody safe, Lemon's going to be a first-round pick. He's probably a lock for a top 15 pick. So he's going to have the draft capital. He's going to have the college production. He's just going to dominate in the slot in your PPR league. So, Lemon, that's why I like Jordan Tyson, but with his injury history, and you compare it to what Mekhi Lemon is, and I think what he will be in the NFL, I don't blame anybody for taking Lemon over a guy like Tyson, just strictly due to, I think maybe Tyson has a higher ceiling, but I think Lemon's floor is very, very elevated. And he dominated in college. Like you mentioned, Pat, commission a couple of your stats there, but I mean, he was number 3 in reception touchdowns, number 3 in missed tackles forced, 4 in yards per route run. 50. He was tied for first with 50 first downs. So Mekhi Lemon, excellent college career, and I think that's going to continue into the NFL.
I agree. I go back and forth between him and Tyson. Depending on the day, I have him as my number 1 wide receiver, Tyson number 2, and Tate number 3. That's kind of how I have it ranked at the moment. But that's what I got. We'll see. Plenty to unveil still in the process. We're still early. Hopefully the combine gives us a little bit more clarity on what these guys look like athletically, and hopefully they're all going to partake in everything. So that'd be great to see. Ethan, let's go to Denzel Boston out of Washington, another big body receiver. You like this guy?
I do. Denzel Boston, as you said, big bodied guy, 6'4", 209, 210. So that prototypical physical X receiver, kind of like a Michael Pittman, Nico Collins type. Some people say he has athleticism and speed concerns, but when you watch it on tape, I think he looks pretty smooth out there. I can see some acceleration. I mean, they had him returning punts, so he has that dynamic element into his game. So he obviously has the athleticism to be back there returning punts. So he's a guy that can really, really boost his stock at the NFL Combine if he shows out. But good career at Washington. 11 games for Washington last year. He had 62 receptions, 881 yards, and 11 touchdowns. I mean, 20 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. Obvious nose for the end zone. I mean, that 6'4", 209-pound frame obviously just helps him just elevate and dominate smaller corners in the red zone. But late breakout age, 44th percentile, a little older before he started to take off in college, which I think that's more so Dynasty 2018 talk. These receivers, I mean, if they're showing out in college, it hasn't really, or late breakout age really hasn't impacted, I think, these recent prospects over the last few years. But I think Denzel Boston is a solid prospect. He's another guy that's projected to be a first-round pick. And the more I look into this receiver class, it's like, okay, this guy's projected to be a first-round pick. This guy's projected to be a first-round pick. I mean, right now we have 5 or 6 receivers to be projected first-round picks, and it's going to make what everybody seems to think is a down class I mean, with obviously lack of quarterbacks, lack of tight end prospects and whatnot, but at least the heart and soul of this class, it might be this 2026 receiver class, because there's a lot of good prospects that are probably going to get pretty decent draft capital.
Yeah, I like Boston. I think when I was looking at him, I kept wanting to just see, okay, he's 6'4". How slow is this dude gonna be? But I think to your point, Ethan, he really didn't do that. I mean, he has some rack ability as well, and to your point, he was returning punts with some pretty nice vision as well, where he can break away. Um, in the punt return game in college, right? We all know it's different in the NFL. But that definitely surprised me. And then his big play, I mean, his big body. I mean, yeah, a lot of quarterbacks love that. I think to Kamish's pass, where I kept thinking, okay, is this going to be a Drake London where he just has to win every single contested catch available? But I don't really compare him so much to the Drake London. I wanted to researching him, but I really don't. So I kind of was pleasantly surprised with the Boston highlights.
I heard an interesting comp to him today. Which is, I know what goes in the Wayback Machines on Fantasy Pros. They were talking about this. They comped it to Amani Toomer. You guys remember the Giants receiver?
That is way back.
Yep, that's way back. For the younger viewers out there, he was a really solid receiver for the Giants like 2 decades ago. They'd say he had 6,000-yard receiving seasons too, which I guess I don't really remember him being that productive. But if that's what Boston ends up becoming, then I think that'd be considered a success by any metric for sure. So we'll see what happens with him. I am curious on the testing with him. I think it makes a bigger difference for him than it does the first 3 guys that we talked about. I want to see what he looks like, what his athletic profile rounds out to look like. I think that's going to be interesting to see for him. And then if he checks out well, he's definitely going to be a first round pick, like, no question about it. Might even bump up a tier if he really crushes the combine. So we'll see what happens on Boston. But we've talked about a lot of big body guys so far, Aaron. So I'll let you kind of discuss this first guy who does not fit into that category. So talk to us about Casey Concepcion.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I think it's funny. Completely reversed in this draft class. I think what was it last year is tough. I don't think we had any wide receivers that seemed like that broke 6 foot. It seemed like, but here's one here. Kevin Concepcion standing at 5'11". That might even be generous too. Will be interesting to see what his combine height will be. But as you mentioned, he's your flashy wide receiver in this draft. Out of the 7 we're talking about, he definitely has the speed, breakaway ability. You see his stats here, 61 catches, 900, over 900 receiving yards in 2025. He also had this second highest yards per catch out of the 7 wide receivers that we are talking about. A lot of that is due to his, after catch ability. We know he doesn't have that size, but he has reliable hands, strong field awareness to get to where he needs to be, whether it's just a quick play that he can turn into 15 yards, or it's just a screenplay, right? So I think depending where he gets drafted, to me, it's something as we talk later on in the draft process, what kind of offense he falls into, I think might fall into my my take, how high I want to put him. But definitely if he gets in a high volume offense or just a really offensive savvy coach, like a McVay type of offense or something like that, that's the type of offense that I would like Concepcion landing in. But I like the player. If you're looking for a speedy wide receiver, this is your guy in 2026.
Ethan, do you think landing spot and the type of scheme that he lands in is really important for a player like Concepcion?
I think any team could use a Concepcion, but I do think he would fit in a scheme that accentuates kind of that slot role that can get open in space, use him dynamically in a way that he was used in college. I mean, this is a player you just want to get the ball in his hand. So I do think if you do draft Concepcion, you need to have a plan for him, a plan to get the ball in his hands, a plan to use him most likely in the slot, to use his. I mean, he's great against press coverage. He's dominant in zone. So he's a guy that gets open quick and finds the open hole in the zone. So obviously, like I said, any team could use a guy like that, but obviously those slot centric teams, like the way the Patriots used to run their offense, something like that would be great for him. But this guy, I mean, he's just very explosive. I would be surprised if he's 5'11", 190. He doesn't look like that on tape. He looks much smaller than that. So I think that's going to hurt his draft stock. Right now, my guy Chad Reuter has him at 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which, like I said, another first-round receiver. It's very popular to put these like top prospects in the first round. It's kind of easy. Everybody always it's the fun pick to put receivers in the first round. I don't know if he's going to go that high, but just the fact that he's being mocked in the first round by some guys that have been doing this for a long time. That's a good sign, but I think he's, like I said, much smaller than his size would indicate. But like I said, he's just dynamic. I mean, he won the award for nation's most versatile player, being a receiver and punt returner. He was the first in A&M history to score a rushing, receiving, and punt return touchdown in the same year. So he was a player that can be used all over the field, just a weapon in space. And like I said, a guy that can help any football team, but will his size limit him in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, the size comes into play when it's becomes a factor when can this guy be a full-time player?
Yeah.
And when guys are losing snaps because of things like that, it's a death knell for fantasy, at least from a consistency standpoint. So if he is a first-round pick, and I was looking at mocks as well, Lance Zierlein also had him as a late first-round pick going to Denver at pick 30. I think if the draft capital is a first-round pick, then he's going to be a guy who gets that opportunity. So that's why I think the draft capital is important, and is an extension of that. The combine is important because this is the type of guy he has to test really well. And you could argue maybe like it'll get double counted if he tests well because we think he's going to test well. He's kind of supposed to test well. If you're 5'9" or 5'10", like we think you actually are, you better test well if you're gonna make it at the next level at wide receiver. So he's a guy that I think that stuff's very important to him. And if it's kind of one of those things where if everything falls into place, if it's the right fit, if it's the right draft capital, I could see him being an impact fantasy player. But I think his road to get there is a little bit trickier than any of the guys that we talked about thus far. So I'm not out on him. I don't want to say that, but I do think he's on the rockiest footing of the five players we've discussed thus far. But let's go to another guy here. We're going to go Chris Bell out of Louisville. I'll just take this one. 6'2", 220-pound wide receiver. So going back to the bigger body guys, played 4 years for the Cardinals. Just finished just short of 1,000 yards in 11 games last season at 917 and 6 scores. Does really well in contested catch situations. He's actually pretty explosive too after the catch when he does get the ball in his hands. So it's a guy I think he has a chance to make some plays out there at the NFL level. Hands are a little bit questionable. Had some focus drop issues and also just kind of some plays that you can't happen that can get you in the doghouse early on in your career. And also kind of struggled to separate from man coverage consistently, which is always an issue in the NFL, especially with those, coverage only gets tougher as you get to the pros. So I think as we kind of go down the list here, we kind of start and poking some more holes in some of these guys so far. But I guess Chris Bell here. Anyone else want to add anything else to him?
Yeah, I'll comment here. I think Chris Bell is probably, I guess, the most. Yeah, I'll just put it blunt for Downtown Browns comments. Most boring wide receiver I have out there out of the 7 we're talking today. I mean, I think his biggest highlight is zone, as you said. So he's not great against man. He does find the weak spots in the zone, which we know the NFL predominantly runs zone defense. So that is a great trait to have. So again, I think you mentioned the drops. I mean, if he can latch on with the QB that they have awesome chemistry with, that's what really can kind of bloom that way. But I can see it going the other direction if getting off to a rough start. But I think his biggest highlight is just he just knows how to get the non-exciting catches and just finding the weak part of the zone and moving the chains. And I think if some team just needs that, and it works for him, and he can maybe start off as maybe a wide receiver 4 that ends up moving up higher in the depth chart comes season start time. That's the way I'm looking at him, at least right now. But who knows? It's pretty early in the process.
Yeah, I apologize if the commissioner already said some of this. He was breaking up a little bit on my headset here. But Chris Bell, I think that ACL tear late in the 2025 season is going to really impact his draft profile, just because we're probably not going to see him test. We're not going to get any numbers to his athleticism. So it's going to be a tough spot for a lot of NFL teams. But he is big bodied. But he was a Blitnikoff semifinalist. But by all accounts, his draft stock definitely took a massive hit from that late season ACL.
Yeah, you never want to tear your ACL. You never want to do it at the end of your college career when you're walking into the pros. Definitely not what you're looking for. As of right now, the recovery is on track for in theory, like June, July timeframe, which is right around the start of training camp. So, the rookie turnaround is always tight for camp because these guys have to go through so much in preparation for everything. That it could be, there's a real chance that from a fantasy standpoint, he just doesn't do anything in his rookie year. I think that's probably the most likely outcome with Bell. But it's another situation where you just got to just pay attention to where he lands and what the draft capital he gets. And, in Dynasty, you have the benefit of stashing guys. So maybe if a few other guys jump up in the process, maybe Bell slips. You get him for a little bit of a discount, and maybe we'll see in 2027 and beyond what he's capable of producing out there. But we got one more guy to talk about.
Isn't he like almost 25 years old? He's an older prospect, right? Isn't he like going to be? Isn't he going to be like 25 years old by the time he steps foot on an NFL football field?
Well, depending on how long his recovery takes, yeah. No, I don't think he's like crazy old. Let's see. He's like 22.
I thought I saw a player profile. I'm at 24.9, but like I said, sometimes you gotta fact check everything here. But
I had his age here.
There's nothing like a 25-year-old rookie coming off a knee.
Someone's dad out there.
You're putting the birthday man on the spot. This is good because once he says
he's the birthday guy. He's the birthday guy.
Yeah, typically know how old these guys are for Dynasty. The big thing is, I don't care about age in Dynasty. Yeah, whatever. I do care about age. Sorry, because on the trade value market, their age does matter. But yeah, you're right. He's he's going to be 25 if he plays this year, coming off that injury. Yeah. So, who's the Denver guy from 2 years ago that was drafted?
What was his
name? Vele? Was it Vele? He was old?
Yeah, I mean,
Vele
yeah.
Old. Yeah, Vele was old.
His second contract's going to come at almost 30.
That's right.
Yeah, Vele's 28, and he was a rookie in 2024. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay. Yeah, tough. Yeah. All right. We got one more guy. This guy's not about to join us in the age, 30 decade bracket. But he was in college for a while too, though, and that's Elijah Surratt, who was in college for a long time, just like the rest of his Indiana teammates. So,
thank you. Yeah.
Ethan, we'll go to you. Talk to us about Surratt.
Surratt. He's another big-bodied 6'2", 213-pound receiver. Obviously, had a very good season for Indiana. 13 games, he had 64 receptions, 806 yards, and a whopping 15 touchdowns. So definitely a guy that can be utilized in the red zone. Has a nose for the end zone. But he torched Oregon twice last season, posting 15 catches for 196 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Ducks. He's a disciplined route runner, and like I said, uses his big frame to create space. But we'll see where he ends up. See what his athleticism score is. Obviously, any of these bigger guys at 6'2", 213, if he can get in the four fours, and I'm not exactly sure what he's going to projected to run, but just another solid receiving prospect that can add to this 2026 receiving NFL draft class.
Yeah, with Elijah Sarrett, I think I was pretty impressed with his on the line moves and how he can get open. I would a lot of the highlights you see, he's just wide open, and it's like, okay, is that play call scheme? What's going on here? You rewatch some of those highlights, and he's cooking cats. Like he's getting open. So it'd be interesting. I didn't see his player PFF grade, but his separation, if he can separate like that on the NFL level, he can be nasty. I know he was the alpha for Indiana, right? So we'll have to see. Was it a Mendoza? Is this the effect of having Mendoza as your quarterback, or does he got these elite wide receiver skills? I think again at 6'2", 213, another nice frame wide receiver there. But yeah, I think his on the line, how he can separate so quickly. Impressed me. So almost, not saying he's obviously, Devontae Adams, but just those type of moves that you can do so quick off the line, I was pretty impressed with. But we'll definitely see how his combine results go.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be as quick as Devontae Adams is at the NFL level, which is okay because there's not many guys that fall into that category. But yeah, he's definitely another prototypical X wide receiver. He was PFF's 21st ranked wide receiver in college football last season, so graded out well there. He's a landing spot matters for him a lot, and we'll see what the NFL thinks of him. I'm curious to see what comes of him there. A couple guys who didn't get mentioned, we should at least throw their name out there, is Surratt's teammate and Omar Cooper Jr. and then Chris Brazzell Jr. If you want to watch some fun highlights, put on Chris Brazzell highlights, because it's like every play is a deep shot, and he's getting open, mossing people, and just like getting into the end zone. It's a fun watch. So, two other guys to monitor as we go through the process here. I guess you guys, any thoughts on anything that we talked about, or anything just about the wide receiver class in general before we wrap it up?
I mean, I like it. I mean, talking football again. I mean, this is one of the most exciting parts of the year is learning the new dynasty players you're going to be drafting in a couple months. So definitely love this part of the process.
Yeah, we're going to have another piece of the puzzle very soon here with the combine actually already starting up. NFL coaches are already in Indianapolis, so we're going to get some more key information very soon here.
Absolutely. And speaking of the combine coming up, we're going to be hitting on that next week. We'll talking combine winners and losers. Just a fun time of year. It's kind of like the first checkpoint in the offseason is the NFL combine. So now that that's upon us, the offseason is going to start flying by, and it'll be, like I said, summer before we know it, which us up here in New England can't wait for all the snow we've been dealing with. But until next time, folks, peace.